Alright, today we're going to be looking at percents, decimals, and fractions and how to convert back and forth. So we're just going to use the definition of percent. A percent is a ratio that compares a number to 100. So it's a very common comparison. It's so common that we actually use a percent symbol for it. So if we had a ratio of 23 to 100, if we were comparing those numbers, that'd be the same as representing it as 23%. We use this percent symbol. 38% then is basically telling us that it's 38 over 100. So basically, in general, if we have P over 100, that's the same as P percent. So that's just the definition of percent. It's just a ratio compared to 100. So it says of 100 students, if we look at this example, of 100 students in a club, 27 are freshmen. Then the ratio of freshmen to students would be 27 to 100. Or since it's compared to 100, we could write this as 27%. So just getting used to the symbolism. When we compare numbers, comparing to 100 is actually pretty nice once we get used to it, right? And percents are really common. So writing percents as decimals or fractions, the easiest way, again, is to just represent that percent as what it is, a per 100. So these factors of 1 over 100 actually represents the percent symbol itself. So we can just use the definition, again, that if we have P percent, that's the same as P over 100. So if we look at this first example, we want to convert these percents to the actual number. Then the first thing we can do with 25% is just take the 25 and write it over 100. So that's in fraction form. That's the actual number. And again, we can simplify this. We always want to simplify our fractions. 25 goes into 100 4 times. So this would be the same as 1/4. So as a ratio, that would be simplified to 1/4. Now, to convert this percent to a decimal, we could use the fact that 1 over 100 is the same as 0.01. So we could take the 25 and then replace the percent symbol with a factor of 0.01. Now, when we multiply by decimals, 0.01, basically we just move the decimal to the left 2 places. So if I have 25, the decimal starts at the end. If I move it to the left, it'd be 0.25. And again, I think that's a common factor and decimal that we're used to. So I'm just going to use this technique for the rest of these. 2.3%. So to change it to, or by the definition, that's the same as 2.3 over 100. And anytime we have a fraction with a decimal, we want to clear those decimals. So if I multiply the top by 10 and the bottom by 10, then I can simplify that fraction. So 2.3 times 10 is 23 over 1,000. So in fraction form, I'd have 23 over 1,000. In decimal form, just take the decimal and move it to the left twice. So this would be the same as 0.023. So if I move the decimal place to the left 2 places, I'd have to attach a 0. So how about 140%? Again, just to be consistent, I'm just going to use the definition. 140% is the same as 140 over 100 as a ratio. So I can cancel a factor of 10 from the top and bottom to simplify. And then 2 goes into 14, leaving a 7. And 2 goes into 10, leaving a 5. So this would be the same as 7/5, or if we write that as a mixed number, 1 2/5. So you notice these are both bigger than 1. Um, and we'll see in the bottom that 100% is equal to 1. So if I want to change this to a decimal, that's the easiest. Again, to change to a decimal, just take the decimal point and move it to the left 2 places. So this would be 1.4 as a number. 33 1/3 percent. So when I have a mixed number, see, percents can be anything, but when I have a mixed number as a percent, the first thing I'm going to do is convert this to an improper fraction. So this 33 times 3 is 99, plus 1 would be 100. So this is the same as 100 over 3%. So to convert that, I'm just going to take the 100 over 3 and then multiply it by the 1 over 100. All right, so the 1 over 100 is the percent symbol. When I do this, what's nice is that the 100s cancel, and I'm left with a factor of, or a fraction of 1/3. So hopefully you've seen that before. 1/3 is, or 3 1/3%. Now to change it to a decimal, the first thing we're going to do is convert this to a decimal. So 100 thirds is the same as 3 or 33.3 repeating. So the 1/3 is a repeating decimal. So if I convert that to a decimal and now move the decimal place to the left 2 places, I would end up with 0.333 repeating, or just 0.3 repeating. So that would be the decimal for that. So if I have mixed numbers, just change them to improper fractions so you can use your fractions there. And then 100%, again, if we look at 100%, well, if we convert this, this would be the same as 100 over 100, which is equal to 1. And this is one thing that we'll use later in the next problem when we convert any number to a percent. So since 100% is equal to 1, we can multiply by 100% and not change the value. So that's going to be our goal. When I have something like 1/5 and I want to convert this to a percent, I'm just going to take and multiply by 100%. So when I do this, I can use canceling. 5 goes into 100, leaving 20. So this is the same as 20%. Okay, I know there's other ways of doing this, but again, just multiply by a factor of 100% because I'm not changing the value. Now, what happens when I multiply 0.125 times 100%, right? Well, when you multiply by 100, the decimal place moves to the right 2 places. So this would be 12.5 and then percent. So it's really nice to be able to multiply by 100%. So if, again, 3/4, I'm just going to multiply by 100%, sorry. And I can simplify this. The 4 goes into the 125 times, and 3 times 25 would equal 75%. And with decimals, again, I have 0.8, so I can just move or multiply by 100%, and that just moves the decimal place to the right 2 places. So 0.8, I would have to add a 0, so this would be the same as 80%. This is probably the, oops, sorry about that. I moved my, all right, sorry about that. So I moved my cursor around, but anyway, if I have a mixed number, I want to convert that to an improper fraction first. So this is the same as 5 times 3 is 15 plus 2 is 17 fifths. Now if I multiply by the 100%, to change it to a percent, I can cancel the 5 with the 100 leaving 20, and 17 times 20 would be 340 then percent. So that makes sense because it's more than 1. 3 would be the same as 300 and then 40%. And again, with the decimals, if I just multiply by 100%, I just have to move the decimal place to the right 2 places. So this would be the same as 1.5%. So in general, if we want to kind of summarize what we do, if we let p represent a number, then to write a percent as a decimal, if we had, oops, sorry about this, let me move that down. If we had p percent, then to write it as a decimal, we would just take p and multiply it by that factor of 0.01. And in a sense, it basically moves the decimal place to the left two places. Now, if we want to write a percent as a fraction, if we had p percent, we're just going to take that p and write it over 100. And that's a definition. And then just simplify the fraction as much as we can. And then to write any number as a percent, p, if we take a number, it's the same as taking p and multiplying it by 100%. Again, and we can simplify the fractions or just move the decimal 2 places right. All right, so again, this generalizes the techniques that we use, but we want to be able to convert percents to fractions, decimals, and back and forth so that we can calculate with these numbers.